Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Kwartinger-Manning. I'm the founder and the CEO of Aspire to Inspire Dyslexia. I just want to tell you a little bit about why we do these exhibitions once a year. The Inspired Dyslexic Artist Exhibition. We put on the exhibition to exhibit the amazing, brilliant work of all dyslexics who are artistic. Now, dyslexia, as you may know, some people associate dyslexia predominantly with reading, writing and spelling. Well, dyslexics have got other talents, skills that they bring to the table. And part of the exhibition today, as you can see, is all the amazing work that dyslexics can portray. Now, on this exhibition, we have all different age ranges. We have one of our artists who's 70, diagnosed recently. And I think it's really amazing to know that we have amazing dyslexics within our community. No matter what age they are, it's not going to stop them from achieving. Angela, thank you very much for coming to the Inspired Dyslexic Art Exhibition today. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about who you are and why you're here today.
I'm Angela DINALL and I'm dyslexic, blatant dyslexic. I found out much later in life because at the time back in the day they didn't diagnose it very well. It has impacted my life somewhat because quite a lot of my words get muddled and my writing used to get muddled. It's not so much muddled now as it used to be. I've improved over the time, you know, and yes, I got into art through Carers for Carers. I used to do art as a recreational thing, and then Carers for Carers said, it's so good, why don't you put it out there? But I didn't have the confidence, but they gave me the confidence. They helped me build up my confidence, and eventually I got it out. So I now sell at Brixton Market in Station Road in the Arts and Crafts section. And weather permitting, of course, on Saturdays. I'm 70 years of age, in my 71st year, and now that I've got the confidence, I can tell other people with dyslexia, if I can do it at my age, there's no reason why you can't do it at any age. There's nothing stopping you except yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to accept that you're not quite the same as everybody else, but you're special anyway. Everybody's special in their own way. And we have something to offer. So thank you to Elizabeth and this group for offering it to us to display what we can actually do and find our own self-worth.
I didn't ever do very well at school. I got really I think surprisingly I did get the highest marks in English, but everything else was below par. Got bullied at school quite a lot. Didn't really quite get school. Whenever the teacher was talking, it was all muddled and mumbled, and yeah, I had a really hard time for education, and I found that carrying on in my education after school, you always learn a lot more out of school than you do in. So I did this at college, and I found that I was quite good at kinesthetic things. Kinesthetic things for people who don't know is like making and doing. So learning more through experience and actions rather than reading and theorising all the time.
Just talk me through that amazing piece. What inspired you?
Well, I very much like colours. So this is like the second piece that I actually made, and I designed it myself. So I don't know, I think I was being a little bit greedy with all the different colours, but it took me quite a few weeks to organise the colours so that they didn't clash and it just looked a certain way, because I think that's the thing, is if you're not really into reading and stuff like that, then certain things like the visual is very good for people with dyslexia and autism, because we're very much visual learners.
What actually inspires you with your with the cushions and the art?
With me, when designing or creating, I'm in my element because I like creating different stuff. It's like giving birth in a way. So in a way, they're all my babies. So you create them. And you know, there's certain times they have to go and have a life of their own with some of a family that's got to love them. So that's this. And I like to work with gems, like this is mother of pearls. Or sometimes we've got natural jewelry a little bit, so I'll put it sometimes on my cushions. So that's my signature. And I always do the reversible, so there will always be something else at the back of my cushions. So that's my trade.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing.
And when it comes to my artwork on the canvas, to tell you the truth, until I get in front of the canvas, I never know what is going to turn out. What is it going to turn out like? So the canvas is the one that takes me wherever I'm going, and whatever within inside of me will come out on the canvas.
Amazing. What message do you have for the individual dyslexic out there who probably feel that they're trapped at a certain point where they can't move on, or they might be stigmatized, or someone may look at them differently? What message do you have for the individual?
I would say just be yourself. And then I've got a little quote from my grandson, Paolo. He said, you are who you are and who you choose to be. And as long as you believe in yourself, that's what matters. That's a quote from my two grandsons, Trey Short and Paolo.
Well, my name's Jo and I'm an artist and I live in Brixton.
So what inspires you to come up with this amazing concept?
Well, these were based around living in Brixton, observation, photography, and then I worked on the pieces with all these kind of memories and thoughts of having lived and experienced Brixton. But I make other kinds of work as well.
Wonderful. So you're dyslexic?
Yes.
What age was you diagnosed?
Well, about 10 years ago I was diagnosed, but 70% of artists are dyslexics apparently, and I was diagnosed while I was at art college.
And how was it before you got the diagnosis of dyslexia?
I just thought I was a bit thick.
Oh,
I mean, the biggest shock for me was when I was moved down into the lowest grade from pretty much all my academic studies at school, to discover from my mother fairly recently that I used to get the answers right, but because I couldn't explain how I got there, they wouldn't accept the answers as correct, and therefore moved me down into the lowest grade. So of course that just impacts on you and makes you think you're really not very intelligent. And then as I was maturing, I began to realise that actually no, I was more intelligent than most of the people I met. So therefore the general assessment of me had been wrong. But of course my confidence was undermined. And going to art college changed that, because they diagnosed me, but also didn't treat me like I was an idiot. They treated me like I was a very intelligent and very clever woman, and that made a big change in how I feel about myself.
What message would you have for the individual dyslexic out there, whether it's a child or an adult? What message have you got for them?
I would say that you're the geniuses, and everybody else is just perhaps a little bit vicious if they're nasty enough to laugh at people when they don't get the right answers, or when they get the right answers but don't really know why, or if they say something a bit silly because their brain hasn't necessarily connected, because I think that with dyslexia there's a lot of disconnection in the brain, and it leaps about, and sometimes it will make vast leaps into a genius element. But if you condemn people for not being able to understand how they got to that, you're giving them a lifetime of pain. So I would say focus on your genius and don't worry about not being able to get exams and to be necessarily the best at education, because your star will shine later.
So this is my recent work that I've been doing, which is very, very different from the normal stuff I do. And it's because I was having like such a block with my creativity, because I was very depressed and very low, and has gone through a really hard time this year with mental illness. And so I wanted to explain mental illness to people that don't kind of understand it. And like, I didn't really have an understanding until I've had it. And it's like, it's opened my eyes to like the ignorance of it. And I was very ignorant about mental illness. But this is kind of me dealing with my demons and dealing with that build up that you don't realize you can like last a lifetime, and then suddenly boom, something happens, and like you thought you could cope and you didn't. So this is kind of me kind of dealing with that, the anger and the pain, and just wanting to scream and express didn't know how to express myself. I'm usually quite like a very happy person, so and colourful, so most of my work's very colourful and happy, but I just got to a point where I'd never been before, and this was creating something that I'd never created before, because I'd gone to a place that I'd never been before, and I wanted to express that to people that have maybe not experienced it, and for other people that can recognise that and recognise that pain, because it was a really painful place to be. A place where you're not having great thoughts about life. You don't want to be in this life. Because what I realise is now I'm in therapy is that I've held on to a lot of things from childhood, and they've like come up as an adult now, and it's stuff that I heard in childhood which is now reoccurring in adulthood, of not being good enough, of being useless, of you know, because I had to get my teacher telling me off, oh, you can't do this, you're useless. So that then has like transpired, it's come back to haunt me almost in my adult life. Now it's just like a boom, and like going through therapy, and I'm talking to the therapist and I'm saying, well, this happened. She's like, that is like really traumatic as a child. And that brings, you know, and when you have that trauma as a child, that can really affect your processing, your interaction in life as an adult. I learned so much recently about that through therapy. It's all connected. And I think a lot of dyslexics have low self-esteem because you're bullied, and you know, for not being like everyone else, and not being able to read. You're the odd one out, you know, you're the stupid one. Kids don't see you as, oh, you have you're dyslexic. No, you're just stupid, you're thick. So you mean that carries on into adulthood.
What message do you have for the individual dyslexic out there who probably feel there's no hope?
Oh, there's so much hope. Like, you know, just find your skill or your talent, you know, if that's drama, if that's art, if that's sports, there's something. And focus on that, and forget about like, oh, you can't do your reading or whatever.
Yep.
That's, you know, that's not going to get you to play, you know, you're going to get other places with other talents.
Absolutely. So I guess really your strength, utilising your strengths.
Yeah, utilising your strengths.
Yeah,
definitely. But also realising that actually by having dyslexia, you actually work things out better, and you find new ways of strategies. And I think we're very good at strategy making. We're very good at working out things, very good at the big picture, working out the big picture, looking at different ways around things, because when we were younger, we had to find ways around our learning. Absolutely. We always had to struggle actually gave us skills that other people haven't got through our struggles.
Right. Good morning, Carla.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for taking part in the Inspired Dyslexic Artist exhibition today.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and why you do what you do.
So I live in Tottenham in North London with my family and have a studio in the garden. I paint to stay sane, really. How I got into it was I had to stop working as an events organiser after I had children, and I needed to do something that was just for me, and it makes me feel calm and peaceful.
So how old was you when you got diagnosed with dyslexia?
I was about 13. I had the reading age of a 6-year-old, and Hackney wasn't stable-seeing children at that point, so they got my reading age up to a 13-year-old and then kind of just said, get on with it. They picked up on it when I was in primary school, but they didn't really know what to do with me, so they just gave me a colouring in book for silent reading, but I had help when I was at university as well.
Do you think there's a link between mental health and dyslexia?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you're being told that you're inferior or that you're stupid or that you're lazy from a very young age, it's obviously going to affect your self-esteem, and that will affect your mental health. If you just look at prisons, like what's the percentage of dyslexics within the prison system? Like, it just makes complete sense. How could it not affect your mental health when society is geared up for one type of person and doesn't cater for dyslexia?
So tell me about your degree. I know you've got a first class degree.
Yeah, I've got a degree in illustration from Swansea Institute of Arts, which was really good to do. Although I've now sort of gone into painting. But
what message you have for the individual dyslexic out there?
I would say that everyone has struggles, and to not forget that. So I think we can become so involved in our own kind of what's wrong with us. So it's really easy to lose sight of that. I would say that it's best to play to your strengths and to not give up.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you for having me.